City.tv.
Welcome back to the final game of Adelaide Super League 15. For the very last game, we've got a little bit of a special treat for you. The absolute chaos of tri-commentary, including myself, George Wrong.
Phil Shields.
And not Phil Shields, Ben Powley.
That's the other Phil Shields.
Phil Shields too.
Yeah, we all know which one's better. So, what we have going on here, Northern Flyers in white, going up against the West Beach Titans in red. Northern Flyers have to win this game by 6 or more points to win this league. If the West Beach Titans win, then all my mathematics doesn't matter and they just win the league outright. If they lose by less than 6 points, then they also win the league. So it feels weird to win a league after losing the last game. What are your thoughts on that?
I think you're only as good as your last game, George. And as we just seen from the Force, who just dominated their matchup against the Riptide yet again, that the table really just is irrelevant. If you win your final game, then you are the champions of the crowd and champions of the hearts. But I think this is going to be a good game to see who, I guess, tops the table in what people are calling the official champion of the Super League.
Oh, you did choke away your 4-point lead and almost lost that game, but yeah, absolute domination by the East Adelaide Force, I'd say.
I agree. And, you know, in a game of winning and losing, it doesn't matter. You've got to get the job done at this crunch time.
Until points differential actually matters at the end of the league. And
don't you bring stats into this, George? We're just proud we just went undefeated against the Riptide, and that's 2 seasons now since we've undefeated in franchise history for the Force against the Riptide, and if that doesn't bring joy to children's faces around Adelaide, then I don't know what will.
That is a very interesting statistic, actually. We get Christy here, looking for Davis up the line. Not quite. They're just sending that one, or Dignam not being able to reel that one in.
What do you think about the pace of the start of this game? Ben, I'll ask you that one because looking at the pace of the previous game versus the pace of this one, I see a big difference. So what are your thoughts about that opening hard?
Yeah, I think it's a good pickup. I think the Force is at times, when we flow and we look to put pace on the disc, we look kind of unstoppable. We've got a lot of good, experienced players, but I think at times we've been missing that extra spark. But I think the winner of this game, they're both very athletic teams. They both started very strong and they both won it. But I think it's the team that can kind of harness it and not be afraid to take the foot off the pedal, like as 30's doing now, just waiting for them to develop and then just going from there. But it's started fast. It's starting to be an exciting game.
Yeah, and of course the East Adelaide Force, probably the most experienced team, but the only way you get experience is age, so there's just a lot of old players on that team. I think Smith's putting one deep.
Inside that backhand.
Lovely shape of the shot. You want to see it a bit wider, but that's like to get out wide, recognise where the space was, where the defender was, and throw out to the break side was just a beautiful, beautiful skill.
Yeah, and Smith's putting that one up. Inside throw to Tran, who finds Davis for the score. And this time we have Phil with an actual pen and paper writing down the score for each point, since it actually matters this time. And who knows, maybe the East Adelaide Force, when we watch back the tape, didn't even win that last game, but we'll see. We'll keep it professional for this game.
What's been your highlight of this year, Phil? Is there one moment, one game that stands out and you think, you know what, this is Super League?
I think this game right here at the moment, even though I haven't seen it, so answering or not answering your question, definitely this game I think will be it. The way that both teams have just come out, guns are blazing, I already can tell it's going to be a ripper.
I agree, Phil.
Yeah, it's been really good to see parity in this league. Obviously, after the 6th round, it was 3-all to everybody, so Very close this time around. So we get Davis with a huge pull.
Closest Super League I remember, and I've been here 3 seasons now. There's always been one team that's got blown out of the water, that hasn't won a game, that's maybe been a bit too much of a friends-driven. But I think with the youth kind of maturing in Adelaide, and a lot more training being put in, and the marquees and the rookie systems that's coming in, and the franchise models, I think it's just really done a great job of just, like, as you say, evening out the entire league and making every game anyone's game.
Yeah, I think just adding to that, I think the marquee system, I'd like to see a bit more consistency in the teams, not just by names. 2 marquees I think is good. 3 is better in my opinion.
You're really going to let Ben Powley keep Joel Pillar-Rogers, Ben Foley and Greg Schotter next league?
Look, that's up to him realistically. I mean, maybe the team won't want to keep Ben Powley. I don't know.
That's the beauty of the franchise model, Phil. If you're CEO, you get to make all the wrong decisions.
And you get to buy your way into another team as well.
I'm just excited to see Lockie Eichner and Wilson Tran hit the market next year and see what I can sweep up in the draft after tactically going on a development year.
Good call.
Yeah, it's very interesting to see Ferdy Ramadan with the top of the leaderboard right now. Put in probably the least amount of effort in the draft, came into the draft with only his mobile phone. I asked him, do you have any plan for what you're going to do? He said, just pick the best player. And then he picked Sam Cowan first pick, so...
Like, Sam Cowan is a proven Super League legend. Definitely not a first-round pick, but he's one of the true handlers of this league. And when you got Wilson Tran's an excellent Super League player. Everybody else, you know what? I still look at his team, and I wonder how they've done so well.
Well, they have Ferdy, they have Wilson.
Exactly. Yeah, how have they done so well? When your guaranteed player is 30, like, you're starting on a low bar. Don't forget, 30 was part of that Riptide team that convincingly did not win a game.
That's true, but the rest of the team wasn't his fault that time round. Although it has been good because this team actually has a captain that plays.
Yeah, it hasn't been a major success with the Force. I'm pulling out through injury, and then Joel pulling out through injury, and I think the team just got better without me and Joel. So I think Phil might be right. The marquee players are everybody but myself and Joel.
Yeah, speaking of marquee players, Ted Wachtell there putting one in to Sean Davis as the rookie marquee player, 9th round pick last season because he only played half the season. The king of load management, knows how to rest up.
Ted, fun fact about Ted, he's been part of the Outbreak A team for 3 seasons now and hasn't played one Nationals, but he made his Nationals debut on the weekend. It was Singapore Nationals, but he made a Nationals debut.
Always finding ways to not play for South Australia.
Aren't we all?
Aren't we all? It's me and you both.
Riding the benches, commuting into states. Then they finally get you.
Are you playing Outbreak Mountain this season?
Outbreak A. Yeah. I believe it's going for a sleek rebrand of just Outbreak. And then there's 3 of it. So 4 teams this year. So it's like a massive credit to the work that's going on with Outbreak. So there's Outbroken, there is Outclassed, and there is Apocalypse. So it's going to be 4 Outbreak teams representing Adelaide and South Australia at Open Regionals. Yeah, good innings.
Very exciting. 4 teams. I don't think it's ever happened in South Australia's history, but even when it has been hosted in South Australia.
I think what would be more exciting if we could get top 3 placings at the very least in the regionals.
Oh.
At the very least.
At the very least.
At the very least.
Yeah, Melbourne Juggernaut, Ellipsis, who are they?
When they're travelling, I'm not sure, especially for regionals.
Can they do it on a lovely 28-degree day in West Beach? That's the big question.
The weather might be too good here in South Australia. They're not used to no wind. Yeah, Ramadan cut up the field. Yeah, it goes all the way around here. Swat.
I want to see Scott hit that far sideline. I think there's one thing that we showed with the Force last game was when you move that disc and you use that disc, it becomes the field opens up a lot more, and it becomes like the defense really has to work hard to get into position. But when you get the disc and you fix in the center and you hold it in the middle, it gives the defense time to catch up, set themselves, and put the force back on. But if you move it and you swing it side to side, it opens up these channels.
Yeah, Swart just puts it up over the top, catches Wokto off guard.
Caught Ty off guard as well. Went a bit behind him, had to go back into that. Woktail almost had a chance for a D on that one.
Yeah, that's just a great score there. Yeah, people sitting down on the ground already. Ryan Ty not playing any of the 4 Outbreak teams. Getting a bit out of shape. Might need a fitness program from Peak Performance.
Yeah, and we're already seeing the effect of the first 3 points being played at superhuman pace for this time of the year in the training season. Red already puffing, tired, really sort of showing signs of exhaustion. So I don't know how far both teams can keep this pace up, and that will be a telling sign. And if they do keep it up, then I expect more errors to creep into the game as well.
Yeah, I think that's exactly it. A faster game means more errors. And it's just being tired makes you more tired and makes you cause more errors, more throwaways, more drops, or just not running hard enough for the disc. As we get the West Beach Titans with a 2-1 lead already, looking good in the driver's seat.
At the moment I can see Ben Powley's deep diving into the tote for this game. What are the odds you reckon you'd give red and white at the moment?
I'd probably put red as the Titans as the favourite coming into this, but I think the live odds, I think the white team are bringing it back. The Flyers, I think they're looking a bit more controlled, a bit more sustainable, and I think they're going to have the measure of it, and I'd back Sean Davis's experience to make those slight adjustments. If they can keep within pace and try not chase the game, I think they're in a great position to stay within and then take it when it's crunch time.
Yeah, sustainability, a big buzzword in business at the moment, and White definitely looking like they might have that sustainability at the moment.
Yeah, they've got all their big players this week. So 2 weeks ago, Sean Davis missed the game. Last week, they were missing Ted Wokto. But they've got them all this week, along with Christie as well. Probably their premier players. First round pick, of course.
Yeah, Sean, I think we've been, as Joe throws it up, that's not what they want. I think we've been quite critical, myself actually, probably, of Sean in the last few weeks. I think he hasn't had a great Super League, especially, it's probably his worst Super League. But I think with Joe and Pat, frees them up downfield, and if they can just limit that on Joe, put it on to pound those break throws and link up with Ted, who's got great connections with, I think that it's just going to be easy and efficient.
Yeah, and off the back of last week, I think White also really struggling to find momentum, keep their spirits high and keep the accelerator down to the metal.
See Ty pull down another one there. Great read. Just kind of floating up in the air.
If Titans are going to win, they're capable of that. They've got 30, they've got Wilson, they've got Rob. Those two, they're capable of greatness, but I think that's also shown previously in some of their losses that when it doesn't work, it doesn't work, but when it works, it works. So if I'm the Flyers, you really have to just focus on this first half, staying in touch, making those throws and those catches pressured, and if you're within touching distance, the mistakes will come, and then you just got to convert.
It's true, and I've noticed here that there's no Sam Cowan tonight, so what's the point of a first round pick if he's not even going to come out to your final?
He's an amateur. He is this year's 30. 30, when times are tough, did not turn up. Sam, where are you, mate? You can't handle it. Maybe it's time to retire.
John Brill last year, first pick, and missed a lot of games.
Yeah, but I think John was honest with his availability, and that's what made the first round pick surprising. John himself, a very, very good player, but the availability really was the questionable one on that, and it came back to sting the riptide in the end, I think. Safe to say, with a 0-9. Is Sam Cayon this year's John Brill 30 mashup?
Very possible. And Southside Riptide, of course, this year. Not happy with their team at all last year, 0-9. Opting with a completely different Premier player, Lachlan Eichner.
And captain. There was a complete rehaul. The only thing that remained was disappointment and the name. But I think it was great. It was a great adjustment by the league director, Ben Foley and Seng, to recognise the franchise model had become unsustainable for the Riptide. Moved it 5 minutes down the road, drafted in the guns of the force, put in Lachlan Eichner, and, this is season 1 for them.
Yeah, rigged draft, I gotta say. You get Davis here, looking back for Christie, as they just swing it all the way across the field. And they might look to do that again. So that's against it.
Plenty of space there. Wachtel made a move from the stack. No eyes were on him. And straight away that was thrown as soon as that move was made. Very easy score.
Yeah, and I think that they just weren't expecting that. Not one of the Northern Flyers' strongest handlers, so they were probably expecting it like myself to just go across the field.
Here's a question for you, Phil.
Yep.
So, how seriously do we take Super League? We know Super League's full of capable athletes, but we know Joe is capable of many great throws, one of the best throwers in South Australia, but we also know he's got that side to him where things aren't going right. He's capable of imploding a little bit and those questionable hammers. Does Sean pull him? Does Sean move him out the way downfield? Does Sean start taking more of the handler role on, trying to settle him a bit?
I think one of the biggest downsides actually to Super League is that while we've got these teams in name, they don't train together. And if that was to happen, I think many of the elements that you just discussed then probably wouldn't be as integral in this conversation at the moment. Super League obviously started as a way to develop both the men's and the women's, because there was a women's elite league here for a while, not this season, just to keep that elite levelness going here in South Australia locally, drafting obviously the top players, that's why it's a draft league. But the fact that they don't train together, at best they might go down to the pub, have a bit of a talk, they might go down to Macca's after a game, get a soft serve or something like that. I think is a big drawback, but there's still a place for Super League here at the moment. As far as, Sean Davis as a captain, not as Sean Davis, but as a captain, what he makes in terms of placements and movements on the field. Again, the teams aren't big enough, I think, to allow for those micro adjustments that you're talking about at the moment. It would be great to see. I totally agree with you there if that's where the inference was going. And if the league went on longer with maybe a couple more teams, so it wasn't just three games in a round robin playing the same teams over and over again doesn't allow for a lot of that sort of like, let's see how Joseph Petrie fares up against a different lineup. Those are the sorts of questions I think that you need to start asking of Super League and its validity in the South Australian ultimate seasons.
I think that's an excellent point. I completely agree. I think that's also what the adjustment of the marquee and the rookie marquee is also bringing, is trying to promote the youth coming through, and then giving a captain 2 years to say work with one of the youngsters as well. So really getting the team recognizing what they can do, and then seeing where they can build with this team and knowing how to support them best, I guess. So it's kind of becomes a 2-season job for the youth and 1-season job for all those old players who love the excitement of the draft.
Yeah, and that would be a really great thing to see. I mean, we just saw then on screen Jack Donaldson, one of the younger players in the league with a reasonable amount of experience, but not necessarily at this level. He's one of those players that you're talking about that really needs a lot of tucking under the wing, a lot of guidance to make him just a standout player. He's got so much potential in him, as do many of the others that are coming up. Dan Roberts we saw in the previous game as well. One of those players, I'd definitely say that's in that sort of mix there as well. But at the moment, we do need to really emphasise or put emphasis with the captains and the senior players in each team, 1 or 2 only. So we don't want the juniors to be overwhelmed with lots of different ideas and directions they should be heading in. But definitely at the captain level, they're the ones that need to be saying, hey Jack, you're doing well, but you can improve on this. Let's get together on the weekend, maybe as much of a team as we can, work on this sort of style of play. Let's get you into the mix a bit more so that you can develop your game. They are trying out at national level in the training squads, which is great to see, but it's not enough. We talked about sustainability. That's the sustainability that we need to see.
I think it's just very unfortunate timing with the whole national season going on. There's just so many trainings you have to do every week. So there's Monday with the whole Super League. Tuesday, a lot of people do their pods, whether it's North, South, Central. Wednesday is training, and then you have your 2 gym sessions a week, and then Saturday is training as well.
Saturday's boozing, Wednesday's club night, woolshed. It really is a jam-packed schedule.
It's tough. It's tough being elite.
Yeah, I guess you just got to pick it. Like, you got to pick your things. You can't do it all, or if you do it all, you're kind of like you're not driving in the right direction. We're seeing a lot of it of like, I'm just going to do 3 sessions a week, but I'm going to make them high class. Or, I'm going to skip out on beach and go to the woolshed. It's, you got to pick your battles. You got to pick what's your focus in life. And if your focus is riding the ball and train like an elite athlete 3 times a week, you're going to go far. But if you're going to play every single level and, you're going to have fun, but you might be a bit too tired. You might not be pushing in the same direction.
I think it's a key thing about Ultimate as a game as well. There are so many opportunities to play throughout the week at social level and nowadays even more so at a higher level. You've got to watch out for that burnout mentally as well as physically.
Yeah, we had a couple of players missing the Super League, players like Sam Tonkin and John Perkins, who was noticing to see this big disc go up. Actually not quite able to check that one down, although he calls an out.
No, he called a foot placement. He called him in, but he wanted his foot. He called it travel technically, so his foot wasn't in there. I'd want to see that throw go a bit earlier. Like, Bryn isolated Joe, fixed him, and as you can see on the screen, if you rewind it a little bit, we got a highlight. He fixes him, he jab steps, he goes deep, creates that separation. Tallis then holds it. Bryn then hesitates. And then Tallis then throws it to the side, and a defender who's maybe more competent downfield, a bit closer, is going to get the D on Bryn. That might go somewhat like what Phil was touching upon, and they're not training, but the Super League, just let that disc go. Let's see what people can do. Let's live for these one-on-one moments, and yeah, we've seen worse shots go up.
Definitely have, and someone like Joseph Petru is not even training with Outbreak, so typically Adelaide Super League used for extra training. So you see Tran, Smits, right on the line, looking for something. Fakes everyone out. Throws maybe 6 fakes, and then goes back to Ramadan.
I want to see 30 look wider. Every single time he gets a disc, he just looks straight back at the handler. He's always looking for that give, go, bounce back up the line, but it's almost to a fault. Like, all momentum is pushing him into the middle, and he's got a long journey to go back. I want to see him get it, let it go, and trust somebody else. Everything now is getting it, and then immediately looking to jam it. And when Tallis was... We all know there was 15 blokes jamming that space because Tallis has just thrown 59 valid fakes, and 30's still trying to bounce back in. 30, if you're listening to this, just do better, mate. Like, trust somebody else. It's not all you. I didn't even vote for you MVP at all. I voted for Wilson. Wilson's carrying your team, 30. And Tim.
And it's just, I guess, a habit. He's been playing with Zero for a few months now. Needed to carry that team to a state league win, himself and Sam Tonkin.
Div 2 state league win. Come on, let's clarify.
Yeah, Div 2 state league win. Pretty unfair having him and Sam Tonkin on the team, I'm just saying.
Yeah, well, I'd like to see them boys try it in a big pond, but hey, I suppose it's the social ultimate's got its place, and if we've seen it with 30 in a few state leagues where he's just happy, just like, I don't know if it's for fun, for enjoyment, or scared of what the talented boys at the top can do, but you rarely see him push for that Div 1 spot. We saw it with treachery, and then he came and played Div 1 and then immediately retired back down to Div 2. Where me and Wilson carried him, but
That is so true, actually. I completely forgot about treachery. But he
They're
might
very forgettable, George. They're very forgettable.
right all his wrongs here with a win.
I just try to right his wrongs with a brick pull. Like, he got the shape completely wrong. This is berate 30 for the next 10 minutes, but, you know, I like to see 30 trust people more.
I think it's a very valid point. Although the brick here is not the end of the world. It gives them time to set up. They're wasting a lot of time. They have to lose by 6 to tie this league with Northern Flyers. They have to lose by more than 6 to lose. So any time wasted is fantastic for them.
Is that true? They have to lose by 6 points?
Yeah, they have to lose by 6. If they lose by 6 exactly, then the Northern Flyers and the South Riptide tie in this league for first place. If they lose by more, then they lose.
Well, if anybody can lose a game of more than 6 points, it's these players that are on the West Beach Titans. They're capable of winning by 20, but they're capable of losing by more, and it is 4-4, so it's not looking too promising, but let's see if the methodical, conservative style of the Flyers can just roll over the maverick, untrusting, evil ways of the Titans. And I'm not playing biased here. These are factual words that I'm using.
Yeah, see Sean Davis throw one away right in the corner.
Not been a good year for him. I've said it before.
Just not recognising the pace of Toronto.
Yeah, and like the sort of throw in the first one as well. It's kind of like unforgiving. I want to see that's one just like to compliment him. It's just excellent swing work by Wilson and an okay throw by 30. It's those throws that you want. It's like those throws that are flat, that are down the line, they're hard, but a little bit of touch, a little bit of shape, and I think Sean would be 2 assists better now with that first point and then that point there to Rondo.
Yeah, and Whiten with the drop there, so we got Christie picking the disc up, getting very physical with this game as the intensity starts to pick up. Christie looking for that break throw all the time in the world for Rondo. See, looks, sneaks it through. What a goal.
Yeah, that's a lovely shot there by Israel. Israel always picked at the right round, but always somehow drafted too low. He always comes up big, consistent player, but there's some, like, it's just a really nice all-rounder. Usually misses out to some specializers, I'd say.
Yeah, he's just very okay at everything, which does put you behind a lot of people, but pretty good to have late in the draft.
Yeah, absolutely. I wouldn't hesitate to pick him if he was available at the right time, and I had some, like, I don't know what I need, but I need someone very capable at everything. I'd definitely draft him. Israel, if you're listening, maybe next year me and you will finally get our rendezvous.
Sean Davis not willing to give up his UniSA mates though.
Yeah, look, he can keep most of his UniSA mates. I'm only after Israel in the right round and maybe a Sam Keon if he drops low enough, but you know, the rest he can keep. Maybe an Eichner. Oh, and a Dan Roberts. Hang on, they're doing all right recently. Sean, I want your talented players.
Yeah, maybe Harley Smith will make a comeback. Fingers crossed. Another former UniSA player.
Well, I took a UniSA player last year, Joe, and I don't think Joe will mind when I say he burnt me. Joe really burned me. I should have picked Sam. Sam Keon was there for the taking, and I trusted a Joe. I trusted a confident UniSA man. And you know what? I should have gone for experience. And this year I went the opposite way. I picked a load of experience, and maybe I needed a few Mavericks to really burn me.
Well, the old players just get injured, so there's not much you can do about that. The younger players, they just sometimes don't pull their weight. The Tran on the sideline, he just puts it up deep straight away, straight to Whiten. As it goes over him, and Smits pulls it down. Just whizzes past.
Yeah, and they're the shots you want the Titans to take. A little bit of a whiffy one deep to Rob, way over his head, but I think they're just athletically just not matching up. The Flyers are a really nice conservative team, a lot of well-rounded players, but they seem to be lacking the fire and the feral athleticism, I think I'll describe it as the Titans, which is why we always matched up well against the Riptide. We used that experience over their youth, had some good matchups, why we always did really well against the Flyers, but probably why we always came... Did we beat? Well, I don't think we did. Why we always didn't seem to beat the Titans was because of the athleticism, but they also had the skill to back it up. Sometimes.
I would say that Ferdy Ramadan is quite the skilled player, contrary to Ben Paule's belief.
I don't know. No, let's not put words in my mouth. I believe Ferdy has talent. I believe he can go very far. But I also believe Wilson Tran is the key to this team. Whenever Ferdy needs an out because he's looked someone off or he doesn't trust somebody, Wilson Tran is there. When they need a boy to go deep but also generate unders, Wilson Tran's there. Ferdy needs Wilson Tran. Wilson Tran does not need Ferdy, and he's shown that many a time.
Does Wilson Tran need both of the Bens, though?
Oh, that was the glory days. The undefeated year where somehow, somewhere, he managed to get both Bens. And a John Brill.
A big rolly pull here, so Petrie will pick the disc up. See Christie here. These two have been handling for the majority of the season together. Sean Davis, usually the handler when he's on a team, especially when he's the captain, but decides to go up the field instead. And he does this kind of undercut into the handler space instead.
I don't like it. I really don't like it. It's like a fine reset, you got to swing it to the middle, but by going directly under, your body is facing completely the wrong way. I want to see them kind of just like look to generate a bit more or look to put a bit of an angle on it so you're not completely facing the wrong way like Pat's doing now. Put some space on it. When Sean gets it, that's bring completely away from the disc. If he comes in, moves away, Pat throws him wide to the far quadrant. Sean can take it on the turn, he can turn and then let it go immediately, but by taking this 90-degree pass, there's no momentum left.
Yeah, and Sean's probably got one of the fastest releases here. He can just turn around and do a backhand or flick all the way to the other side. It's super quick.
But like, as you see Pat there, Pat maybe took it a bit too straight, but by opening his body upfield rather than turning away downfield, he was immediately able to recognize some space and throw some dishy rubbish to the right areas. And that dishy rubbish is actually dishy greatness because it's so much space and he recognized it early.
Patrick Christie is just such a mature player. He plays like such an old person, even though he's so young.
Pat Christie really showing what I'm trying to talk about. See, too flat. Put some width on it, take it back, and then you open up your body. It's just routine.
Yeah, and Christie just punishing Lazaro with all these high release backhands. He goes again. He just keeps throwing these super high releases up and almost getting pulled down by Smith. Luckily, Marty is tall enough for the challenge.
See, Pat's just doing it here. This is what you need to do. Hold that middle ground. I don't like negative setups, but he's using it well to keep his body downfield. So he's doing well, but disc looks great when Pat's in the middle and he's moving that disc, and then Sean's putting the pace on. As soon as Sean becomes that middle resetter, he's making a lot of movements, expending a lot of energy, and there's no momentum going upfield because he's turning the wrong way and he's not getting thrown open or he's not putting the angle on to open his body up downfield. Scott Swart vocally demanding to do more of his team, using some select words.
Get a score update, Phil?
We've got 6-5 to White.
6-5, so Northern Flyers up by 1. 5 more to go if they want to win this league.
When it's your turn, in the pattern and the structure, it's your will to fucking go and do it. That's all it is.
So yeah, maybe, would you say it's been a good adjustment to have Christie and Petrie back for the whole season?
I think so. I think they're both competent handlers, and I think what you've got with Joe is a really calm, big, capable thrower, and with Pat, you've got someone capable of putting pace on. And it moves Sean into that one. I think Sean can use his footwork well, his athleticism a bit more. His throwing hasn't been particularly great, but he's a quick releaser. Like, that's where you want him now. You want him pushing him downfield, getting him freeing them up in a bit of a free roaming space. I'd love to see the adjustment in the handler space, but I'm not that coaching them, so I don't know if they recognised it. They seem very happy cutting from the 5, trying to reset at the 1. But to be honest, they look infinitely better when they're bringing their handlers into it. I think they've got a great little diverse handler unit that can drive the momentum and then look to hit their bigger boys off that rather than just trying to go from a static start, cutting from the 5 every time.
Yeah, definitely. And I think it's very nice to have 3 handlers on the line at all times. 1 at the 1 and 2 back. It gives you a lot of flexibility, I'd say. And also someone like Wokto as well, who brings that flexibility as well. He can do kind of everything. Cut deep. You see Tran here, looking deep, but he's just going to go short as a Ramadan. And that is all red downfield, but he doesn't pull the trigger. He goes all the way around. Almost gets some miscommunication there. Smits and Swore go for the same disc. Ramadan is on the sideline here. Might want to get it off here, but it's all red. And by all red, I mean it's all Smits. And it goes over everybody except Wokto. Just has a couple of slaps at it and pulls it down.
That's when you need to control Wilson. Wilson's always your option, but he's very capable of those whiffy, flat, unshaped backhand. You bring a bit of edge into his game with the touch and the throws that he shows and the awareness. He could be very good thrower.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are very trigger happy, especially once they get into that power position where you're running up.
Digger's just there, absolutely cooking 30, and mistake by my boy Sorondo. But I'd love to see that 30 athletic, but he doesn't have the height. Diggers I want to see, and Diggers is very fast. I want to see Diggers isolate. I want to see their handlers. That's a goal. I want to see the handlers drive it and then look to isolate Diggers going deep on them. Or there's a few other capable matchups, but I want to see them isolate the players rather than just sending their entire force deep. Sorry, their entire flyers deep.
Oh, very, very cheeky. You see Sondo just with the drop there and then getting beaten on the break side by Tim Davis. So, unfortunately, 2 mistakes there.
A classic question as Sorondo goes and kicks the goalpost. What are you saying now if you're Sean? Are you trying to take the win or are you going for the jugular?
Can I interject? Tactics. I'm not seeing too much at the moment.
No.
It just seems to be a flat foot race, and I'm not too sure if any team's actually going to get a commanding lead or edge over this foot race, as it were. There are consistencies in lots of the top players' throws. For example, we saw Ramadan there throw to the end zone to Davis. Now, one of his trademark throws is to step wide and then throw the cut as a cutback throw to the player that's making the leading cut into the open space. And I think you need to chuck tactics into the mix here and start mixing up the force, putting a straight up force or something like that on in order to dominate yourself on the scoreboard.
Yeah, we saw that last game a lot with Southside Riptide, putting a lot of different looks on defensively and offensively. They put on the horizontal stack offensively, they put on a zone defensively. This game has just been more or less the same every point. As you said, Phil, it's just a foot race every time. Just 2 handlers, 5 in a vertical stack, and just run as fast as you can and beat your player.
No, I agree. I think it almost seems like we've got this tactic, we're going to run this tactic, this is kind of how we want to play, but it's very rigid, it's very just running. Great D by Wilson. It's very routine. It's almost like the classic throw a zone for the zone's sake. What are you trying to make them do a million passes? Are you trying to contain them? Are you trying to exploit a bad throw? But it just seems to be like, no, we're just doing a zone. We're just doing our vert stack. This is what, no reason, just because.
And to throw that back into your question, what are White looking for at the moment? I don't know, and that's the point. Like, I'm not seeing them doing anything other than this foot race in order to. I'm not even seeing a want to win sort of effort. It's sure they're running fast, they're doing everything you'd expect, but I can't read from what I'm seeing on the field a want to win mentality from really either team as such, if you know what I mean, because they're not throwing the tactics into the mix.
Yeah, I think that's correct. It's definitely with this points difference that George raised. It's kind of a Red only have to see the game out and don't have to see it out prettily and don't have to win even. And I think you're seeing that, and it's all mostly about pride now. But I'd love to see, like, what have White got to lose? Like, to be honest, you're either winning the league or you're not winning the league. No one remembers who came second. So I'd love to see them do some fun stuff. Like, you're now blessed by this freedom of having to chase a game, and people get fixated on having to chase and having to win when you're chasing, you're already losing. Like, what have you got to lose? Just go and throw some fun stuff. Go throw some 5-person match and 2-person zones. Go throw some clams. Go throw 4 handlers back, 3 downfield. Just have fun with it. Super League, no, you got to go for the top and you got to do something different.
Yeah, exactly. And we've seen the first few rounds of the Super League. We pretty much and pretty much throughout the Super League, we've just seen this vert stack match defense. Eventually, a zone came out by 1 or 2 teams, and it's been chucked into the mix occasionally. They did eventually go to a horizontal stack, but breaking it all up, side stacks, split stacks. Let's do an isolation play, offensive tactics as well as defensive tactics. Do I want to do a really solid poach under? Do I want to do a different zone, maybe 2-man up front on running the mark with a return force or a middle force or something like that? Just really getting into the heads of the opposition and saying to them, this is what we're going to do, your move.
No, absolutely, and I think that's the way the game is progressing now at the highest levels as well. You see less of these like rigid structures and more of these are how we're going to cut, and here's how we're just going to cut out of these split stacks, these side stacks, these horros, these verts, and I think you see it now. Everyone can defend the vert stack. They've perfected the clam. They've perfected the initial stopping of the pool play, the containments. Horizontal's becoming more of a thing. It opens up the spaces deep and under, but now it's progressing again. I think a little bit from the mixed game, a little bit from people understanding the spaces a bit better. Like, people are running out of vert stacks or making the same cuts. It really makes, like you say, makes the defenders think. And then on turn, the defenders throwing hybrid zones, forcing midfields. We're seeing like Sunder do really well with the inside to know around, the double tap style, and it really makes you think it's something different. Exactly, you force backhand for 2, like that makes a difference in this league. It's simple stuff that can be thrown at the right moment, but there's got to be motivation behind it. Like, you can't throw a zone for the sake of throwing a zone. You've got to have a purpose.
Yeah, it definitely has to be a lot of thought into it. And again, at this level, it's a chess game. It really needs to be a chess game rather than a foot race. It really does need to be that.
And once again, that's a disadvantage because these teams don't train together as a whole. They often train together in a big squad. The Outbreak Premier team all train together, and then, of course, Apocalypse and Outclass train together. So they actually know each other's strategies and all that.
Yeah, and so what you end up seeing actually is the trickle-down effect. Because they are playing in the one Outbreak squad together, all you get is what Outbreak are training. You don't get that variation, which could then feed back up. It doesn't have to trickle down. It can go both ways and go, hey, this actually worked well at Super League. Maybe it's something we can start investing in.
I think that's a good point. I think that's what you're seeing. So the majority of this Flyers team will come from one line, which was the more conservative line. It's the Sean Davis line. It's the cut from the 5 and the vert line, and we're seeing that. And what we're seeing on the other team is 230 Wilson, they're also alongside me. We have a more free-flowing line, and we're kind of pushing that to what I guess self-plugging Adelaide era were doing, where it was running some different shapes from different formations, trying to do something different, looking at the mixed spaces differently, and I think that's why they're doing so successful in this league. They're not the best team, but I think you summed it up nicely, Phil, when they're the most adaptable, they're the most flexible, and they can really just come out in these wild-looking looks, but there is some structure behind it, maybe.
Yeah, I think it's just also the flexibility of having a few players who can just do a bit of everything, especially with Ferdy Ramadan and Wilson Tran. They can throw, catch, run deep, and they can just burn anything. So we get a pick call here, and Smith's arguing that He was well clear before the pick was called.
Yeah, that doesn't affect the play. The thrower is still responsible for getting it. He's just asking a question. Turnover. Super League notoriously good for spirit, and I'm notoriously good for not nibbling on bad spirit calls. So
Very famous for that. Yeah, well, let's see the Northern Flyers try something different on defense here, because speaking of which, they did get the turnover there. I think the West Beach Titans are going a bit of a, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. It got them to the top of the leaderboard, so they'll just keep going with their strategies.
yeah, why would you? The only thing they need to do is just keep on top of their matchups, make sure they're not doing anything stupid, and try and pressure it. And the Flyers going to break up to make it 8-6, but there's a bit more work to do. But I mean, if you can get on top, that's half. If you can get on top, you can get another break. It's going to make the Titans really think of it. And I guess what the Titans have been showing is they're not very good at chasing, but they're very good at leading. Wilson Tran is everywhere. Anyway, I can't believe I'm complimenting Wilson Tran so much.
Yeah, I know.
Lesser of two evils, I guess.
What, was going to hit him at 30?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Some might say I feel threatened for my crown of SA's most capable intermediate male, but, you know, not me.
Yeah, on that note, we will take a short break as the commentary team regathers their strength and momentum, and as do the teams on the field.
Like and subscribe Ollie TV, and thanks to Peak Fitness and Double Happiness for sponsoring this league.
We're back with the second half of the West Beach Titans going against the Northern Flyers. West Beach Titans trying to claw their way back into the win, while the Northern Flyers are trying to extend it out, try to get out that magic 6 number.
Yeah, I was standing by the Flyers discussion at halftime, and Sean seemed to be trying to put some fire behind them, telling them that it's the second half of the game, it's the last game of the season. You need to get up there and you need to go get it, go win, go to one-on-one it, and they're really emphasizing they're competing on the long ball. So I think that's a very valid point. I think that alongside a little adjustment, a bit more free-flowing, a bit something different, I think they're on for a great position to come into the second half.
Yeah, and something else I thought that Sean Davis focused on, which wasn't really present in the red team, was that the defensive effort is really going to be the crucial thing here, because both teams equally matched in offense, I think, and it really is going to be who can get the turn and capitalise that's going to make all the difference in who comes out with the W.
Yeah, and we get a turnover straight away as Smits drops that one by Ramadan. Just a little bit out of his reach, imagine, because it goes all the way across the field.
Yeah, that's not what you want. Stick him higher, do whatever. Ted had a bit of coverage, but by the time that disc travels, and there's been a couple of times where Sean's thrown that over the last few weeks, and it's the same outcome. It travels a long, long way, and there's always time for someone who's a bit aware to go get it. There's no need to do that. You just got to walk it in and treasure it.
Yeah, and he often does it from stoppage position, whereas you saw last game, the Southside Riptide really doing it in the flow to Lockie Eichner, who just sneaks away to the other side of the field.
Yeah, I felt the only thing that was lacking in that tray was it was way too flat going over the stack as it was. And while Wachtel was in plenty of space to receive it on the other side of the stack, a bit higher, a bit deeper would have been the preferred option.
A bit like that, that's really not a great throw, but at least you're putting space on it. You can't catch it. You got to put air on it for someone to get a chance.
Yeah, I think Tim Davis did a great grab there as I think he was trying to pass that one to Wilson Tran, but Ty just sneaks by and yoinks it out of his hands, denying fantasy points and making all Wilson Tran holders very sad.
You're never sad when you got Wilson Tran in your team. No, I haven't checked my team. I loaded up week 1, disappeared, came back. My team had somehow already lost the league in week 2, and I'm just waiting for next year. I'm going to subscribe to Rex Johnson, Day Trader, and if that man is doing $5 subscriptions to how to play fantasy, I'm doing it.
He put a sneak peek of his spreadsheet into the Super League admins chat the other day. It looked intense.
That's what happens when a mischievous engineer's got too much time on their hands.
That's so true.
How dare he big brain fantasy and get rewarded for hard work? He should just put speculative in and just judge everybody on emotion and past biases like everybody else.
Yeah, I hear actually what he did is he put a spreadsheet together. Who would have thought?
Yeah, I'd put a specky on Joseph Petri, honestly. You get the big turnovers and the big assists.
No, I can admire that. Stupid decision. It goes against all logic and stats, but you got to back it. You got to back a wild specky, because if your team crumbles, but you manage to pick that Joe Petri will do well, you look like a genius.
No, I don't think Joe Petri is too much of a specky. The real specky would be if you put Connor Fletcher in your team. You got a great throw there, but waved off. Foul call.
You know what they say? If you can't keep up, call a foul. I didn't see it. It might have been an actual foul. I assume it was. Luke's a nice chap, and Israel doesn't seem too surprised, but, you know. And as the rules go, Jack's got to throw exactly the same throw again.
Yeah, it's very tough for young players to throw twice. It was a beautiful one.
It was. And that was perfect. Isolating the defender downfield and getting some separation. Throw a foul or not foul.
Yeah, but having to do that by step on their foot is, I'm not too sure whether it's in the rules. I mean, it might be, it might not be. I'm not up to date on the current rule set.
Yes!
And Christie just burns canvas at field.
And that's like Jack, as Phil said, he's kind of doing what the other throwers should be doing. He's putting shape on the disc. He's making it actually like a tough throw easier and a tough catch easier by weighting the disc, by throwing somebody open, rather than trying to just cram it in a cram hole.
Yeah, we've seen better swing here as Donaldson gets foot blocked.
Jock Dennison of old, no pivoting coming into the play there.
Yeah, tries to throw that around without moving his right foot over, the right leg over his left.
Oh, there's a classic example of 30 and Wilson wanting to get the disc done, but if you shut out option A, you know, option B is a bit rusty these days. And that option B is usually blocked by Wilson coming back to try and be option A.2.
Yeah, and Dignam has been putting in the work, marking both Tran and Ramadan this game. Usually seems to go on the player who doesn't have the disc in his hand to start off with. Interesting look here with Wakhtil on Ramadan and Davis on Whiten. You usually expect the opposite way around as a disc goes way deep. As Chrissy goes for the kick there.
That's how I 30, you know, team on his shoulders. He had a round shot to Wilson, hesitated. He could have probably crabbed onto Rob, hesitated. And then when it shuts down, they're fine when they flow, but they've really got nothing for when it shuts down. So it becomes this deep shot. And as we see there, 30, as talented as he is still learning this trade, still learning the thing, and an errant throw, not enough shape kind of thing.
Yeah, that throw would have been great if it was 30-30, but instead it was 30 to Davis.
Yeah, then 30 would have actually done a good throw because he trusts 30.
That's true. Well, usually I like 30 up at the 1. He's very dangerous up there. You usually want a specialised handler back there, which is why I guess he picked Sam Kay on first pick. Makes a lot of sense for a player like that.
But where's his other handler?
Good point. As Christie, if you watch it back, he kicked that disc up. He's too lazy to go up for a layout, so for the 3 points D, he just kicks the disc.
Well, that's Sean and doing what I assumed he's listened to me saying in the first half, kicking that disc wider and immediately just distributing it wide, and they look so much better. They get their gainers downfield, they keep momentum on the disc. Oh.
Yeah, that's a rough one. He kind of mistimes the jump, turns away at the wrong time, and just kind of slaps him on the shoulder. We continuously get this backhand call, so I'd like a little bit of insight from you. But last game we saw a lot of it, so what's the mindset behind this?
It's just, people are very comfortable throwing their flicks, And that's all they tend to practice because a lot of forcing comes to the flicks. And we see with 30, and Wilson, those backhands are less honed. They get good quickly and they just work on their flicks and just a funner throw, easier break. And it really kind of reduces that inside break. So when you're playing as the Titans, we usually force flick because 30 and Wilson love those inside shots. And as we see, their backhands are slower. They're less nervous breaking, and the flicks is all about that round.
Yeah, it's a great point about the backhand, as we saw a high release backhand which got shut down by Petri. A very speculative throw. As Petri actually goes deep there. And you have Dignam with a disc in the middle, so a bit of a different look. Wachter the Davis matchup here, as Sean Davis throws deep. Nobody with Dignam. He just brings that one down easily.
Yeah, that's what you want. You want to, Ted did a great throw there to Sean to put him wide, put him into space, and then Dignam timed his cut deep. And that's what we wanted to see him all game, is putting those isolations. And if he's pulling those 30 and Wilson matchups, you still back him going deep. And it just means Wilson and 30 are doing that extra bit running, that extra bit harder work on defense, which reduces their impact on offense. I think Nathan Dignam was the key to this game, and I'd love to see more of him and more doing like that. Now he needs to kick on, tying up on D, make him work harder, and then just go punish them.
That was a captain's point by Sean Davis, I feel. The turnover was affected by Sean Davis on the mark against Ferdi Ramadan. Giving him nothing to the preferred, as I said before earlier in this match, what Ramadan likes doing is stepping out wide, throwing a low backhand backwards towards the open space of the receiver. And this time it was to the break side nonetheless, but Davis was so quick on the mark there that it didn't give him opportunity to do that. So in the end, Ramadan had to opt for a high release backhand, floated in the air, gave Petrie enough time to read it. Tim Davis just had to stand there for forever, and any defender could have come in and got that. In the end, Davis then picked the disc up, worked it upfield, and he had the vision to see Dignam behind a whole lot of players in the open. I don't think a lot of players would have been able to see Dignam because even though he was on the very far side behind a whole lot of players. Sorry, Sean, you're not a tall player, but he did see him going through that crowd and just put it up into space. And so that was the captain's point that White needed. I don't think it would have affected them greatly in terms of wow, Sean Davis did this, but now they're 2 points in the clear, which might give them that momentum.
Absolutely. There's always two types of captains. There's those who inspire and have the gifts with the gab, and there's those that just kind of buckle down, do it when it needs to be done, and lead from the front. And I think he's just, as you say, he's grabbed the scruff of the shirt, and as you see there by Tonkin, just put in that little bit of step into there. But I think Nathan's also doing a great job working with Sean in that dump space and taking away that priority one and forcing, like you say, 30 to his second choice throw.
Yeah, huge layout there by Tran. Thought I might have got a whiff off Dignam's legs.
Tran carrying this team all season.
You see how it goes. Of course, Tran first cut as always. Smith's on the side here. Once again, forcing this backhand. Working well so far against this West Beach Titans team. Tries to stop every... Lazar just goes very wide. I don't think they'll mind that too much.
That's what you gotta do. I think you gotta be able to... The adjustments you gotta be making is putting these kind of throwers in these kind of positions for this kind of ball. You gotta make it hard. If you push everything backwards, push everything wide, this is the kind of thing me and Phil were talking about, get fun with it. Start putting no one on people you want on that frisbee. You'd rather have people in the corners who aren't the regular throwers versus the people in power positions who love to throw.
Yeah, and Ty just screaming for the disc on the other side of the field. Lazada in the corner here in a very awkward position.
Yeah, Lazada made a big cut up the field, and instead of cutting to the break side, instead he cut back under towards the disc, which I feel was the wrong option, which caused him to be stuck in that front corner. And I think it was Smits maybe who was looking for the throw and had a little bit of shake on his head, saying to Lazada, look, you really, once you're in the end zone, make that 7 cut to the other side, not under again.
Yeah, it's a classic 1-2 30 to Wilson. They had a couple of sniffs there, Flyers, and they have to make it count. They have to put it in. But like that's it. Like it might come back. Kevin's a very he's developed throwing in his game, but you stick him on the frisbee, and 30 and Wilson aren't throwing together. The frustration is definitely coming out as we see 30 blow up midpoint against Ty, but job done.
Yeah, and I think Sean Davis did a really good job marking Ramadan when Lozada was stuck in that corner there, but then fell asleep a bit as Ramadan gets it back and then cuts up the line. And then, of course, like you said, blowing up his team. Some messy offense in the end zone. Now, Ramadan is someone who has been playing every single point. He doesn't take points off. He likes to play every single point, which means inevitably there are going to be moments where he rests on the field and might just fall asleep on defense even. So the Northern Flyers really need to capitalize on that. It is tough to beat him in a foot race, but there are those moments that I've noticed.
Yeah, as you say that, Dignam and Davis on the Flyers team are taking a break on the sideline. Both of those players equally fast up to the task. I'd put all three of those players in the same category, Ramadan as well. And if Ramadan isn't taking the time off, then he might succumb to that. At this point in time, I don't see it. We are getting significant rest at each end. And I think Ramadan does have the legs and the stamina to go to the end of this game. There's 17 minutes left in this game. We will see if that does come into the equation or not. For Reds' hope, I hope it doesn't. But the other thing I'm noticing at the moment is that it might have just been the bias of the last few points that I've seen, is that White seem to be generating more deep options than Red are. Red seem to be stacking quite deep. They're having to cut under, work through the middle, even into the end zone, whereas White tend to get a few more deep options generated and tend to throw to them. Not necessarily significantly that much more many, but there's one going now. Sarondo's going deep, and Christie puts it, and that's exactly what I'm talking about. Red don't seem to be generating these opportunities in the deep.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's been a nice adjustment since half-time. They seem to be, like you say, absolutely generating it, but now not generating the three options. It's the waiting for that one to really time that Pat Christie kind of power position. The handlers are driving and they're timing it nicely and they're offering it. And, you earn the right to go deep, and I think they earned it in the first half, adjusted nicely, and the Titans are now trying to force the deep shots almost as a panic, but not an option.
Yeah, it looks like the West Beach Titans are sort of just cutting deep to generate that under, whereas you see the Northern Flyers are actually really putting in the legs to just pump it deep, and they'll get rewarded with these long throws, especially people like Dignam and Sarondo even in that last point. So it looks like Sean Davis might be back in the field, taking that one rest point.
Timed it perfectly. It's always a gamble. You go off, you're the captain. Captain's probably fit enough to last the entire game, and they're experienced enough to kind of pick their moments to, I guess, cruise a little bit more and enable a bit more. But we've seen it with Sean Lace. He's mastered the taking the point off and letting your team score. I think that says more about Sean Lace not being on the pitch and the riptide scoring. But I think Sean rolled the dice. Sean paid off, and let's hope now Sean, 1 point off, is just ready to kick on again and have a few more captain's points, as Phil correctly pointed out.
Yeah, and it's good to show trust in your team. I think when Sean Davis goes off, it shows his team, I trust you, and I trust you to score these points. What are your thoughts about a captain who can't give up control of a team and just drafts them and doesn't even play the entire league and claims he's the coach of the team?
There's no claims about it, George. As I see from my...
It's a hypothetical here, Ben.
Yeah, I'm not targeting anyone in particular.
Well, I see you asking for a May. I think that's an elite decision, and it takes real maturity to donate their time and their energy into what I assume would be a highly successful season for the team. If they were to have let's say like a World Games player as a captain, replacing them, and then having South Australia Coach of the Year for last year.
Bandari pulls that one down. Diwas, huge grab there in the end zone in the corner. The crowd goes wild. Fan favourite. Another one of those picks that a lot of people questioned. And Sean Davis taking one of his UniSA mates again. Maybe a bit of bias.
Divas, he's got some. I think it's safe to say it was a bit of a wild pick in the draft. There's plenty of capable athletes who miss out, and but what I had the pleasure of coaching Divas on the 22s, and he's an absolutely great teammate to have. Selfless giver in terms of energy and atmosphere, and you know what? I'd say one of the best throwers, fundamentally one of the best throwers in his age bracket, and you had him upwind, and he could just carve that disc. He knows when to move, he knows what he's want, he's a smart player, he asks questions, and he can throw a frisbee, and a great teammate. Put him in my team.
Always a smile on his face.
Yeah, and I think especially the under-22s team, missing Kaido Foster is probably the premier handler. Needed another person to step up.
I'd like to, Dev, if you're listening, I'd love to get your opinions on that.
I have no comments.
Kaido Foster messaged me immediately after getting bronze against Victoria and elated time to be a South Australian. Messaged me going, shame I wasn't there, would have won the gold. Like, thanks mate. Sure. Safe to say he was on red for a few weeks. And then have you seen that, Phil? Like, Tallis is trying to generate deep, but they're just hanging out deep, waiting for someone to come over.
Yeah, and Smith's made the call now, and we had two other red players. Look, they weren't out of position. They had very entitled to that deep space as well because they had separation. But the throw was never coming, and so if they'd cut back under the time, Smiths was going deep and had that awareness. And it's asking a lot, I think, in the context of that particular play. But Smith's definitely working hard for the disc, trying to generate unders. The only thing missing from this game is Nazar hasn't yet had his foot trod on.
It's so true. It happens every game. Might be time for it soon, I think. You got Lazada here. Left-handed. Makes it confusing for a let's force backhand. You see Ramadan Sachon again. And he's just so good at those throws. The undercut, someone running at you. Put in space.
And that's a lovely shaped cut by Luke. He kind of drifted deep and then cut under. And if you're going directly sideways, it's a really hard window to hit. But by shaping his cut slightly under, it gives a whole big body target. Your momentum's coming to space. And Wilson, as you say, is just very happy just to step out wide and take that bounce, nicely shaped throw into space for Luke to run on. Though Luke cutting that side is technically cutting to the open space, so let's ignore the defender for a minute.
Yeah, I think also luckily for Meyer in that case, Donaldson was on defence as well. And talking about Luke shaping there and the options that he did present with, Donaldson as defender needed to really recognise that was a throw which was always going to be on and just run a lot harder defensively, stick a hand out. As it was, he was just happy to trail.
Yeah, and I think as Donaldson gets more experience, he'll realise that he doesn't need to follow completely all the time. He can kind of just cut off the space a bit more.
Absolutely. Like, with every year, your degree of angle becomes that 1 degree better. Eventually, you'll be taking those lanes, really playing efficiently and learning how to use sideline, to use space and use the force to really shut that down rather than just going into foot races. Unless you're Nathan Dignam and then you're just horrifically athletic and somehow never experienced, but will just chase after you and do well.
Okay, so we've got just under 10 minutes of regulation here, which is probably about 3 points in the standard scorebook of points being scored. Score is 9-11 to White, the Flyers. How is this going to turn out? Is there going to be an increase in pressure? Is it just going to be the status quo? My feeling is just going to be the status quo. I don't see any change at the moment. I don't see any urgency in either team. And Titans really, I think, need to show that urgency. I haven't heard it on the field from my position. Doesn't mean it hasn't been there, but I just haven't heard it, and I'm not seeing it on the field. So I'm seeing status quo. What are your thoughts, boys?
I completely agree. If I was the West Beach Titans, I'd want to just win this one. I'd put so much effort to win this one so you win the league outright based on wins. It feels not as great to win based on points differential with the variance of people missing time in the league and things like that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, what's really on the line? Like, go out there and win. Go out there and win every game possible. And all I'm seeing is I guess they're trying, but they're not really doing all they can to win this game. And I don't know how aware the Flyers are at the time, but I'd be really now just throwing everything at them, going all out. And if I was Titans, it's now playing for pride. Like, nothing will dampen their winning parade like the loss. Can you arguably call yourself the best team when you're recording losses against everybody and lose? And as I said, you're only as good as your last game, so the force of the best.
This is essentially, even though it's not a grand final, it is a grand final, you know, and that's the thing. Like, yes, they'll come away with the overall W for the full league, but they won't be able to claim that in the very last game, when it mattered, we were able to pull out that win, which, you know, undisputedly gave us the deserved trophy. You know, they can't do that, and that will forever dog them. They'll always come back with, yeah, but we won overall. But it's not, it doesn't have that same feeling. Even when it echoes in your brain when you say that against a naysayer, you know that they're right and you're just having to defend it. You don't want to defend it that way.
Yeah, it's definitely, absolutely. There's I think that's spot on. There's a difference between winning and there's a difference between coming on top and points difference. I think it throws me back to my both Ben's year under Wilson Tran's guidance, where we went undefeated, and that just felt good because you could just like forever be that the undisputed best team. But points difference. You really want to get that outright win.
Yeah, very different kind of league compared to normal. Usually there are a finals series, but not this time. It's only regular season games. Very much, it's like we're playing football overseas in Europe.
How continental, George.
You see, Ronan, of course, going to Tran, his favourite option.
There's a lot of their continuation is all lateral across the side of the field. They're all desperate to get onto this disc. As soon as it goes out of Verdi or Wilson's hands, it's just everyone tries to sniff that continuation. So they know it comes so rarely, but that all means they're all moving together, and these mistakes occur.
Digne does a bit of dancing there, falls off balance. And all the Flyers are moving fast now. Looks to be around. Christina really has to work for that one. They just go all the way to the other side. Might have to watch that sideline there. Walkfill. Smith's getting a bit physical there.
Good grab by Pat. Had to go get it early. And I love when Pat does that. He recognises he's really quite aggressive in the way he cuts and he grabs.
Yeah, we got those boys!
And that might be lights out for Northern Flyers' chances with that drop by Davis. Especially if the West Beach Titans score one here. Very risky throw, but Tran does well to grab it. Ronan demanding the disc back. Smits yelling some bad words as he has finally rewarded the disc after many cuts. And we'll see if this one goes all the way over the top. And does. It might be lights out on the Northern Flyers' chances of winning.
Yeah, but you've got to win the game. Now you just got to keep taking away, keep winning, and now even if it becomes mathematically impossible, it's all about now pride, and it's all about taking the champions and saying, you know what, we beat them by 5 points and we didn't give up. I think I'd go for that. I'd claim that, and then as Verdi calls a timeout, I hate that. I really honestly hate that so much. Why? You've won the league, go out, have your victory tour, bring the game back. As Phil says, go win outright. Don't call a timeout and play the clock, which he knows, and he was talking about it during the point about using the clock. I mean, I'm all for clock management, but come on, mate. Have some self-respect.
Yeah, I was getting nervous here with the clock ticking up 4.5 minutes to go into a time cap, so really milking that time. If all goes well, they should be back on the line and ready to play at 3 minutes, but we'll see how much they milk it.
They should milk it, but they really shouldn't because they're not winning. Like, it's a game. True. I hate this so much.
Did you see who called the timeout?
Verdi.
Yeah, and that's what George is talking about. He hasn't taken a point off, and I think, look, I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt, I think, here. And I think he's just really feeling it at the moment because he hasn't taken it, and he should have, which wouldn't have necessitated that timeout then.
But I think you got subs for a reason. We saw Sean have the maturity and the timing to do it. I think 30 now, he needs to have, I think he's shown all season, he has little faith in outside of his friends, and that's punished them in parts. And just let everybody else play. You're doing your victory lap. Go for win.
Totally agree with that, and that's what I'm saying. Like, he needed to have taken that. That's what I'm saying. Yeah. He didn't, which is why we've got the timeout. And he didn't have the foresight to see that, I think. It's like having that foresight to say, yes, I'm a captain, I want to play the captain's game, I want to be there, I want to be showing, leading from the front, I've got the legs, I know I've got more legs than anyone on my team, but you look at Davis, you look at Digman, they both took the time to share the duties around, and he didn't do that. He's got the timeout, now he's looking like he's playing the clock down. I don't think that's his intent, but it looks like that.
I think he is doing it. I'm going to give him the benefit of the undoubt.
Okay.
I think walking onto the pitch, shouting time, shouting clock management, but also, like, I completely understand. Like, I get it. He needs a break, but I think don't call a timeout. Just take the break. Take the sub. Yeah.
Yeah, as you see the clock tick down now
He's back on the field again.
Yep, down to 2.5. So 2-minute timeout, 30 seconds over the allocated time.
Got to be a generous lover, 30. Got to be a generous lover. And I think take the W, go for the W, go for the win, learn to be ruthless. That's the difference between a good team, and I think that's cost South Australia in the past, is being able to finish games, being able to keep going, being able to crawl out. And I think this is just... I think this is an opportunity to learn a high-pressure game and learn how to come back and learn how to control the game, and I think that they're missing that.
It comes back to a point you made earlier about the relativity of Super League as well, and that, look, if this does get learned and taken back to the Outbreak squad, great, but here's the thing, I think with Super League a lot of these lessons don't get taken back.
Wachtel pulls down a fantastic grab. The disc was just floating away from him. He does well to put his body in the way of Smits and just pull that one down.
No, you did well, mate. You did well.
The score's 10-13 at the moment with 1.5 minutes to go, so we will see time cap being called during this point. Look, I'd like to see personally Flyers get the point and then get the full win at 15 points, which is regulation points cap for this game. That way they can pretty much confidently come away with the game with that in their head, saying that, yes, we beat you in essentially the grand final. Yes, you did come away with the overall 3-round round robin victory, but, you know, in the grand final, we're the winners.
Yeah, maybe that loss from last week will come back to haunt them. They almost came back against the Southside Riptide last week, missing Ted Wachtel. And yeah, they won that one and they win tonight. They would have won the whole league and gone back to back. But then you have to deal with Sean Davis winning 2 leagues in a row, so I don't know where that puts it. The alternative is 30 winning the league, so really what's better?
You know what, I'm just annoyed. I just can't describe. I'm a very literate man. I'm very articulated. And I cannot describe how much I really hated that timeout call. And now I've got Sam K on my messenger, poking the bear because he knows he can poke me. And you know what? I will engage with him. And that's time. And now we see time cap 30 is going to probably call another timeout because... Oh, I hate it, George.
You think he's going to try to get to hard cap?
I just hate this so much. Like, this is because... So when we played 30, I had my rants. It was a win at all costs. And like, he would call discs that were down, that were up. He would call the 50-50 stuff in his favour because he really wanted to win. And you know what? I hated 30 for that. And I abused 30 for that. But you can appreciate someone who wants to win a game. Now, he does not want to even win a game. So in my mind, he is a man that calls bad spirit scores, that does not trust his team, and he calls timeout in games that you're losing because you're just seeing out the clock. In a league that doesn't really matter, and he's not going to outright win. So, George, I hate it.
Many poor words for the captain who's about to win the league.
Yeah, let's consider the bear poked.
Maybe next year you have your chance. Some sort of injury here. Oh no. Hopefully it's...
Yeah, so saw there Brintai missing the first effort and having to scramble, losing his legs underneath him, and then going for a layout from already grounded position. Obviously something happened there in that scuffle between the ground and himself, which has caused a bit of a minor injury.
Yeah, and he had to take multiple swipes at it, so really good to see that effort being put in. Seeing maybe a lack of it sometimes from the other teammates. See Sean Davis bring the disc back in. I think his drop before might have lost the Northern Flyers a chance to win this game, but still a good opportunity to try and win the game. Win it on 15. It's always good. Feels good to get to score cap. That just falls short. As Rob Whiten yells good pressure. I love yelling good pressure when you don't do anything. It's my favourite thing. Sometimes I once had the pleasure of playing against a New South Wales team that was way better than me. And I just got burnt deep. And my goodness, the amount of times they just dropped the disc cold, even when I was nowhere near them. And my teammates just yelled good pressure. I felt good.
That's one of my favourite calls. Like, they're the areas we want them to throw them, as they throw 9 completions deep and then failed on the 10th one. We're like, now we've got them.
I think after an hour, I'm like, nah, I'm out.
It's very true.
I'm going home.
Let's go, boys! Yeah, boys!
You see it come back the other way. Lazada coming deep straight away. Actually playing some very lazy defense on him. That's a veteran player who knows his angles and knows where to cover and where not to cover. And I don't think you'd mind having disc in Lazada's hands, as someone almost gets a piece of that one. So what? Usually very trigger happy, but discipline today. Speak of the devil.
If he meant to throw that to Kev, that is a money shot.
It's one of the best throws tonight. Oh no!
Time to pull that guy just to score how we're doing scoring.
Last week, as Mike Palmer was putting the video together, he actually missed the point straight after half and then had to re-edit the video and put it back in. We could edit the videos however we want and just...
How, the second, so it's all on wins, and obviously we've just established 30 doesn't want to win outright. And then it goes to relative point difference in this league?
Yeah.
Okay, what about if it was actually just points difference?
No. It is points difference like between all your games.
No, but it's relative points difference. It's the positive versus it's the ratio of goals scored to negatives. It's not a strict point difference. It's some weird stuff that's saying implemented it on us. So I want to know what happens if it was actual legit strict points difference with this soon to be 5-point win. And can we petition this? Because I did not agree to relative points difference.
I have no idea what this relative point difference thing.
No one does, George. This is why it's so confusing.
I mean, with two teams tied at the top of the table, usually you'd expect, they play 3 games against each other. They're head-to-head between them.
No, it should always be win, and you should just win outright. And then it should be points difference, so you reward consistency against every team. And then it should be head-to-head. I don't know where this relative came in, or what it means.
I have no idea what this relative points thing is.
Yeah, T. All right, who's back for T?
I was questioning the captains in the admin group about what this actually means. And they explained it to me. And I didn't even bother trying to argue because I have no idea what it meant. And the Force were at the bottom, but we decided to win our final game because we're not cowards.
I was going to ask, did you not care because you had no chance of winning, or?
Actually, here's some rumours. 30 messaged me going, I'm unsure about this relative points difference, but if I make a complaint in the admin group, it's going to look like I really want to win the league. So can you please raise it? And so all I did was raise, what the hell is this relative points difference? and I still don't know.
I don't trust you with how you've been talking about 30 tonight. I don't trust you.
Okay,
All
come
right,
here.
show me.
I'll show you the messages. Here's 30
Come on, Red.
in my DMs.
Oi, Luke. You've got
Hey
this.
Ben,
Team
what do
help.
you think about the
Luke.
standing results for the Super League? I not understand the relative points difference at all and how it's better alternative to absolute. I think it's disadvantaging my team at the moment if, say, we lose next week. I also don't think I can bring it up in the chat because I'm in a winning position, so it's hard to say anything.
Alright, before we leak more DMs that we probably shouldn't. Yeah, okay, I can confirm that is real.
I'm not one to spread rumours, I'll spit facts, George. 30's a coward, you're also in my DMs begging me to help change the rules.
So I was doing all these calculations based on absolute points difference. I now have now I actually have no idea if my calculations are even correct.
Alright, I'm trying to dig out
Alright,
the messages.
I might as well Seng up real quick.
Alright, here we are. So Seng says, I was like, what is the difference between the two? What is the difference between absolute and relative? Seng, I'm trying something different this year, but essentially it favours defensive effort over offensive effort, considering Ultimate is an offensive favoured game. Well, Seng, it should be, like, whoever scores the most goals wins. The proper term I found out recently is goal ratio and goal difference, so we are playing goal ratio. Like North and South at the moment, both are +2 goal difference, but North has a better ratio because they had lower numbers. Ratio is above difference. Usually ratio accounts for goal difference at higher number, but say if one team is 75 goals and 50 against, and another one is 60-40, both are 1.5. But then goal difference would come into play.
I'm completely lost, and I'm now extremely nervous that we've got the complete wrong winner.
So my understanding, and I'm probably totally wrong as well, listening in the conversation, is that let's say Team A wins 15-12 in week 1, then they're +3.
Yeah.
Okay. Now next week, Team A loses, say 4-7. So they lose by 3. So then their total goal difference is 0 because they won +3 on the previous week and lost to -3. So you just add those two together, +3 -3, you get that 0. But as you're saying, it doesn't account overall for their overall score. That is, that first week they won 15 and the next week they lost 4. So it doesn't take that into consideration.
There's a game of frisbee happening. We should talk
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, that's right. So if a team has 100 goals for, 50 goals against, they've got a +50. If one team has 75 goals for, 25 goals against, it's still +50, but the team that's got the 75-25 would win the league because they've got a 3-to-1 ratio as opposed to 2-to-1 ratio.
Oh no.
But now we have to back calculate to begin with to go for ratios straight up.
Oh no, I have completely miscalculated this.
I can't wait for 30 to lose the league.
Okay, so currently the score is 14-10, I believe. So the Northern Flyers just need to score one more to win this.
We've got a lovely backdrop of a full moon over us tonight, which is just fantastic to see as we come into what's potentially the last point of the evening.
So now I have no clue who the winner of the league is going to be. So hopefully Seng can clarify that. I wonder if he's watching the stream. I'll look at the stream. Actually, no, we don't have a stream.
Jay, this is your point, mate. Jay, this is your point.
It's not too late to just text us a message and say whoever wins this match is the winner of the league overall. That'd be a nice way to finish it.
I totally agree. See Smith's throwing a big hammer fake. Loving the fakes tonight. See, looks around.
Yeah, Jay. Keep it up.
Canless, middle of the field, nobody on him. And they're doing this backhand force again. Been working very effectively against Ramadan especially. As Davis trips over. I think he'll go back. Completely hindered Davis's ability to move there.
I think what happened there was that Davis was riding hot on the heels of Tran, got caught up in his legs. Christie saw it and actually slowed down on the attack towards, I think it was Smith who caught it in the end, was it? And so Christie actually slowed down because of that.
Yeah, I think that's probably right. probably didn't want to get involved in that whole accident. I think they fell right in front of him.
Seng is currently doing the maths.
Oh no. Have we fed him the updated score?
I've kept him updated. It's 14-10, game to 15.
I've been lying this whole night, and now this video is going to go out, and I've just been spouting my thing, thinking it's absolute point differential.
How good would it be? Like, poetic justice if 30 loses because he's managing the clock because you spouted him a rumour that he had to not lose by 6.
To be fair, my math is still better than a lot of people. So the points differential was 12, and people were saying, oh, they need to win by 12. And I was like, no, you only win by 6.
As long as we don't start introducing more imaginary numbers.
Imaginary numbers, fantastic if you're an electrical engineer, not so fantastic on the frisbee field. One more throw to the end zone. Could be the whole difference on whether or not they win the league or not. Swat. Just throws it over everything. And
Watson takes it up. This could be it.
Injury call!
Oh no, another injury call. That's the old Ted I know.
It's getting exciting in the commentary box.
Defensive specialist comes on, gets a D, and then, oh, I'm off. He's quite the opposite these days. A pretty offensive player, but you see, he's still got that defensive mindset. Able to bring that one down.
I can't decide if the ratio is making this league exciting or the fact that we don't know what's going on that's making this league interesting. I'm saying I apologise, the ratio's doing wonders.
I think Seng should just keep it hidden the entire league next time. Next time, you don't even know who wins. You get a deep cut here. Srinivasan. Donaldson just puts it deep, but it's to nobody. There's Davis! Lays out! Pulls it in! And what a way to end the league.
15-10. We don't know who's won.
We might as well stay on the camera as we get a live calculation who wins the league.
Well, I just want to... I can't understate just what Sean Davis did then from the position. He just had eyes for the disc only. Had to go around one or two players to get the disc in the end. Fantastic Superman layout to get that for his team. He wanted the win badly. He wanted the 15 points. I mentioned it earlier on. It would be great if they got the 15 points to get the full win. And they've done that via the captaincy of Sean Davis. The question is now, who is the winner? We might have to come back here, interrupt your Super Bowl Sunday if you're in America, and either redo this or just have a dedicated program running down how this actually league works in terms of winner.
So we just got the official results from Seng. That 15-10 win means the West Titans win the league by .02 goal ratio.
And what a well-deserved win that is, and a fitting way to finish this 3-round robin league. So there we have it, straight from the league director, Seng, who's just said a .02. It's just come down to the wire. That's how close it's all been. And it's been fantastic. This game has been the game. You asked me before, Mr. Powley, what the game is that I've enjoyed most. And I said at the beginning after seeing the first point, I think this is the game that I've enjoyed. I don't know about you. What do you think? What's been your favourite game of the league?
My favourite game of the league has been every game the Force has played against the Riptide, just extending our franchise undefeated record against them to 6-0. I think this game has been great. I think it's just massive. I think the Flyers have just been excellent in this game, just holding off. The Titans were capable of, showed why they kind of won this league, I guess. I'm a fan of rounding to 1 decimal place myself. But yeah, I think it's just kind of this kind of sums up the styles we get in Super League, the excitement, the highs, the lows, why we play this sport at this level, and I'm just really excited for the new generation coming through. Those Dan Roberts, those Kaido Fosters, those Jack Donaldsons. I think they're coming on leaps and bounds over the previous seasons, and I'm excited for next year, where more marquees, more rookies, and more dubious spirit calls.
Yeah, more controversy is what we need. Mr. Wrong, George Wrong, what are your final thoughts on this?
I think it's just been a great league overall. It's just been so close. It really came down to the last point there. I mean, I was right somewhat in the end where they had to actually win by 6. So if the Northern Flies actually won 15-9, they actually would have changed the result of the league.
Yeah, so thank you for listening to this commentary by your commentary experts. I'm Phil Shields, and we thank Alti TV for their live cast of this. We also thank Peak Performance, PAQ Performance, look them up, and also Double Happiness jerseys. This is thank you from me.
Yeah, and thank you very much. And thank you very much to Rex, who has been filming on behalf of Alti TV. Thanks, of course, to all of you watching as well.
The glue that's held everything together every week, as well as other esteemed leader, Alti TV, behind the camera at the moment to make an effort, Mike Palmer.
Thank you very much to Alti TV, and hope to see you next season.
Peace out.
Alti.tv